Welcome to another podcast from the WA Masonic Media Centre. My name is Peter Kirwan, I'm the Grand Master, and I'd like to welcome Brad Potter, or Major Brad Potter, Divisional Commander of the Salvation Army, and Warren Palmer, the Public Relations Secretary. So welcome to the Grand Lodge of Western Australia. We are here today to talk a bit about the Salvation Army and also, more importantly, to give them a presentation of a cheque, which is going to be the proceeds of the Grand Master's fund for the Bushfire appeal. So welcome, gentlemen. And first, I'd just like to start off with Brad, as Divisional Commander. How have you guys been going through all the COVID-19 area?
Thank you, Peter. Thanks a lot for the opportunity to have us here today, and also to all your members who have generously supported the work of the Salvation Army in the Australian community. I think to talk about how the Salvation Army has been in fact impacted by COVID-19 would be the same for many organisations and many businesses. The Salvation Army has sustained quite a financial challenge within these times, and that's been seen in the way that it's able to deliver its services. But I'd want to assure your members and also the public that all the money that is raised through the Salvation Army Bushfire appeal goes directly to those who have been impacted by the appeal. This is the edict of the Salvation Army that we use this money to make sure that that has a positive impact on those lives in the three, what we would say, the three phases of how we respond, how we look to recover, and also how we look to rebuild communities and individuals.
It's a good lead-in because we've got a situation there that we've received funds. When I launched this appeal, we ended up receiving funds from the US, UK, the Pacific Islands, and even Kenya. It's amazing from around the world it came. And one of the things we just wanted to make sure was exactly that it end up going to the Bushfire appeal, and you just touched on that. So I'm glad you assured the brethren that it actually is going. But have you got any roughly examples of where it could be spent?
Well, individuals come to us for help at the very early stage through that emergency phase. So that's the first phase, I guess, that we have to respond to. And that's the first phase of any crisis or national disaster such as a bushfire is response. We've got to respond to the emergency phase we're presented with. And we do that through our emergency services by providing meals and refreshments to those agencies, the fireys and the SES crews. We want them to make sure they're at their best with fighting the fires. So that historically the Salvation Army has been in that work for well over 100 years in Australia. The next phase is really about how the community then settles and moves into a phase where they can actually recover to a certain extent, and then move into the last phase, which is about rebuilding. So the initial stage is about the emergency response, then it's about recovery, and then into rebuild. That whole process could take well over 3 years. So we need to make sure that we're around, we're present, we're supporting the community over that period of time, and we're responsive to their needs.
And I think through the media, there's been a lot of comments, especially in the eastern states, that some people have been forgotten, left behind the scenes. But I would point out from a personal point of view, it's amazing when a disaster happens, there's usually two organisations are going to always be there, the Red Cross and the Salvos. The Red Cross usually through medical backgrounds and training, the Salvos purely there with the volunteers, with a shoulder, hot drink and a blanket, and especially the people that are actually been impacted. And you've probably also got the infrastructure in place, so we're glad we can contribute to that. What's actually going to be coming up for the future for the Salvation Army? There's what do you really need to keep doing what you need to do?
So the Salvation Army is really focusing on how it can broaden its capacity to be able to deal with situations like our bushfires. And one of the things that we've just taken possession of is our emergency services kitchen, which is a mobile kitchen, which just expands our capacity to be able to deal very quickly and in a very efficient way with disasters that come our way. I'd want to say that really the lifeblood of our organisation, as with many organisations, is their volunteers. And I would put that call out to all of your members that if they would like to consider even volunteering for the Salvation Army in that space of emergency services, we would be we'll be very happy to take on new volunteers in that space. Once again, to be able to be agile and to be able to increase our capacity to be able to respond to these disasters.
We do have a good number of our country members that are volunteers with SES and local, bushfire advisors and everything else. So it's in the nature of Freemasons to help out. So if anybody's out there that's involved, we're always looking for volunteers ourselves. And I know our MCO's trying to chase down some volunteers as well, but that's usually on a shop front point of view. But if those are more hands-on and want to get involved, I'm sure the Salvation will be happy to hear from you. But, and I think what we could do is now organise a presentation. This is what you came for. And I'm very pleased to say that we raised a fairly reasonable amount of money, and it got drawn out. COVID-19 took over. A lot of lodges closed down and couldn't do anything. But what I might do is we also might stand for this one, because I'm sure that the guys might want to take a photograph. But it's a cheque for $25,000. We wish you well, and hopefully that your work can go forward directly to the people within the bushfires area and the victims and all the support mechanisms that go with it. And we wish you and all your volunteers all the best. And this is just a small token of the appreciation and the level of support that we feel for bushfire victims in Australia, not just Western Australia, Australia. But wish you well, and hopefully we can do more in the future.
Thank you, Peter. And I would want to say on behalf of the Salvation Army that we really value the support of all the members of the Freemasons, and to thank them for the way that they are supporting the Salvation Army and partnering with the Salvation Army in making a positive difference in the lives of Australians and Australian communities. Thank you.
Thank you.